How do you feel about animals? We must surely all like them. Well, if that's the case, do we all feel guilt by using products that abuse them? An animal test is any scientific experiment or test in which a live animal is forced to undergo something that is likely to cause them pain, suffering, distress, or lasting harm. Animal experiments are not the same as taking your companion animal to the vet. Animals used in laboratories are deliberately harmed, not for their own good, and are usually killed at the end of the experiment. Animal experiments include injecting or force feeding animals with potentially harmful substances, surgically removing animal organs or tissues to deliberately cause damage, forcing animals to inhale toxic gases, and subjecting animals to frightening situations to create anxiety and depression. Some experiments require the animal to die as part of the test. For example, regulatory tests for Botox, vaccines, and some tests for chemical safety are essentially variations of the cruel lethal dose 50 test in which 50% of the animals die or are killed just before the point of death. Did you know that animal testing is legally required for many of the products we use every day? From fragrances to painkillers to the fabric dyes in our clothing. Every new chemical has at one time been force-fed to animals. HSI is working around the globe in cooperation with companies and government authorities to replace cruel and obsolete animal poisoning tests with modern alternatives that better protect human and environmental safety.
Animals such as monkeys, cats, dogs, frogs, rabbits, rats, and many more other species are used in experiments because they have similar human DNA. The fact is that there is a hidden problem that most people aren't aware of behind the favorite products that we use to make us feel beautiful, healthy, and protected. The company tested its products on helpless animals with little to no regard of their welfare. Many of these animals were bred into facilities specifically for testing, and they carry out procedures that would either harm the animals or lead them to their death. To achieve certain objectives the company has, in order for a product to be safe to use, animals are kept in cramped quarters such as glass boxes and dirty cages, which hinders them from moving and breathing. With no proper care provided after experiments, toxic chemicals are injected into their bodies, causing skin rashes, burns, amputations, behavioral problems, and many more major injuries. This renders them helpless in the absence of proper treatment, and they are forced to participate in further torturous experiments until they die. For as long as humans have dominated the planet, animals have been mistreated. Many of these people overlook their compassion for these animals in order to satisfy their own desires. Any benefits of using animals for research could be attained through other means. Animal research for pharmaceuticals have shown to have low success rates. 92% of experimental treatments for animals are safe to use, but too risky for humans to use on clinical trials. Reasons as to why it should be stopped is because it is ineffective, outmoded, and dangerous for both humans and animals. The extinction risk of many of these creatures has increased as a result of that they are taken from their natural habitats, and the biodiversity food chain has become significantly unbalanced, affecting other species populations as they are overly increased and decrease if one species is wiped out. Therefore, some measures must be taken to protect these animals from suffering and give them the chance to live in harmony with nature as intended. Animals should be treated with the highest respect because they are essential to continuation of life. In contrast to us people who desecrate the gifts that nature has given us, they also protect our surroundings.
Animal testing is not without its flaws. Because humans and animals are so different, the results of animal testing and experiments typically do not precisely predict human responses. Although we do share many characteristics with animals, there are major differences between us. The success rates of drug testing on animals is low. 92% of drugs tested on animals are safe. but too ineffective and too hazardous for human clinical trials. Humans are still endangered by animal testing. Animal testing may have detrimental consequences for humans as well. Several human experiments that were thought to be safe due to previous animal research ended up being hazardous to human health. For more than a century, animal testing has always been the cornerstone for medication and chemical safety assessments. Animal testing is time and cost intensive, has a little amount of drugs that can be evaluated, and provide little insights about how chemicals interact with the body. In addition to ethical issues, animal testing carry the responsibility of causing physical pain, psychological anguish, and suffering to huge numbers of animals. Animal testing is obsolete, unreliable, unethical, ineffective, and hazardous for both humans and animals. Suffering animals in our testing and trials is both wasteful and inhumane.
Imagine being held and forced to breathe terrible vapors for hours while syringe is forced down to your throat to inject a drug into your stomach. That is the heartbreaking reality of animal testing for millions of mice, rabbits, dogs, and other creatures around the world. Consider for a moment and imagine a future without animal testing, one in which the safety of chemicals, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and other products is ensured through the use of current human biology-based predictive techniques. Our mission is to make this world a reality.
Now, if you are kind enough to join us in our advocacy campaign, I can assure that it is feasible to live in a world without animal testing. It is a world where billions of animals can live freely, healthily, and happily. Join, and we ask you guys to help us voice out that with significant scientific progress on a regular daily basis, there has never been a better time to end this horrible and entirely needless process of using helpless animals for research. We may save millions of defenseless animals by prohibiting animal testing and switching to alternative activities. We can affect the world by picking items that have not been tested on animals and being informed on which have. To make an animal cruelty-free world is our goal, and we want you all to be there in the end if we do it, and to look back at all the gracious efforts we've done to make it happen. If you would be so kind, you all have our gratitude.